Is a tale less factual than a story? I am preparing a press release, and so far the headline of the press release is A Soviet Labor Camp Survivor's Tale. A colleague called the word tale into question, since this is a book about a person's actual experiences in a Soviet labor camp. She feels that tale would be more appropriate for something fictional, whereas story should be used in this case. I'm not so sure tale is less appropriate for the situation, and on top of that, it sounds better. Anyone have any good reasons for believing story is better than tale?
There indeed is a contra-factual connotation to tale, perhaps due to its long-standing collocation and association with fictitious narrative. Cf. Fisherman's Tale. The Odo has as one of the definitions of story as 3. An account of past events in someone's life or in the development of something. The story of modern farming. The film is based on a true story. 3.1 A particular person's representation of the facts of a matter. During police interviews, Harper changed his story, emphasis added. Which is not in the definition of tale. 1. A fictitious or true narrative or story, especially one that is imaginatively recounted. 1.1 A lie. A story can be false but a tale seldom true, it seems. What we have here is therefore a story, not a tale.
Offhand, I would have thought that tale carried a connotation of a story with a moral, fictional, whereas story related an event. However, Survivor's Story of the Holocaust gets about 185,000 results on Googling, whereas Survivor's Tale of the Holocaust gets about 400,000 results. Some of that reflects on a book with that title, True Story Holocaust, 842,000 hits, True Tale Holocaust, 298,000. The dictionary definition doesn't help much. Words associated with tale which imply falsehood include tall tale, folk tale, fairy tale, whereas cock and bull story implies a false story, but a sob story can be true or false. I am the world's worst gram user, but here's one anyway. I can't give you a solid reason for it, but I think story is probably more associated with truth than tale is.
In my opinion, the op can use either true story or tale in his headline. An example of how tale can be used effectively in a title is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It is set in London and Paris before and during the French Revolution. It has a story-like edge to it, and we expect to read a recount with a beginning, a middle and an end. In Dickens' novel, the word tale has an epic flavor to it. If I were to read the following title, A Survivor's Tale, I would imagine the description of a person's long and arduous journey through life. An existence of strife and struggle punctuated with episodes of great despair, but ultimately, a story of great resilience and hope. In the end, it depends on the story being told and how it is told. If it relates a series of factual events as in a documentary, then I would choose the expression true story. If the recount is told as if it were a novel, then I wouldn't have any objections with the term tale. Edit. Because many answers are based only on the term tale without considering the op's original headline, I defy anyone who reads the following to believe it is a short story about fairies, elves, goblins, or fisherman adventures. A Soviet labor camp survivor's tale. The following are all examples containing the term tale for non-fictional narrative purposes. 10 epic tales of survival against all odds. 10 astonishing desert survival tales. Castaway, shipwrecked man makes land after 16 months adrift. An emaciated man survived 16 months adrift at sea, eating turtles, birds and fish and drinking turtle blood, having floated up to 8,000 miles from Mexico to a remote Pacific atoll, it was claimed on Friday. A Norwegian researcher said that the man, who only speaks Spanish and has a long beard, was not in a good condition after his 24-foot fiberglass boat washed up on the reef at Eben Atoll. If confirmed, the feat would be an unbelievable tale of survival, reminiscent of the Tom Hanks film Castaway or perhaps Ang Lee's adaptation of Life of Pi. Poon Lim was a Chinese sailor man who survived 133 days alone in the South Atlantic after the British merchant ship he was serving in was sunk by German Marines on November 23, 1942. King George VI bestowed a British Empire Medal, BEM, on him, and the Royal Navy incorporated his tale into manuals of survival techniques. The writer Alfred Bester later stated that Poon Lim's ordeal was used in his novel The Stars My Destination, which opens with a man stranded in space. And for fictional purposes. Wilderness Survival Tales by Gary Paulson. 13-year-old Brian Robeson learned to survive alone in the Canadian wilderness, armed only with his hatchet. Finally, as millions of readers know, he was rescued at the end of the summer. But what if Brian hadn't been rescued? What if he had been left to face his deadliest enemy, winter? Author, Gary Paulson, 3-time Newbery Honor winner, raises the stakes for survival in this riveting and inspiring story as one boy confronts the ultimate test and the ultimate adventure.
Tale might evoke associations with the established terms fairy tale or tall tale and talebearer that are undesirable in this context, because they could appear to call into question the truthfulness of, and possibly the motivations behind, the survivor's account of his experiences.
The etymology of tale is that it is something told. So a tale is, specifically, a kind of story which is, or was, told out loud, orally, so a bedtime story might be a tale, because it's told to children. In the labor camp survivor's tale we're to imagine that the survivor told the story, in person, or to a witness, or that they lived to tell their story. Whereas story is from history, which implies something more written, perhaps more factual, probably a less personal narrative.
If you want to support channel, please consider subscribing.